Donkey Kong is here to help me celebrate episode 333 with Donkey Kong 3 for your Nintendo Entertainment System, featuring the ugliest picture of Donkey Kong I've ever seen, and a giant Cocoa Puff taking out the original, which might explain why we didn't see the original much after this game. Let's go ahead and take Donkey Kong 3, pop it in my NES, and see how it holds up today. Let's go to the game. Ooh-ah! Donkey Kong 3 was published by Nintendo and was released in the States in 1986. It's based on the 1983 arcade game. According to the back of the box, Donkey Kong and a swarm of bees are loose in a greenhouse, and it's up to you to drive out Donkey Kong and exterminate the bees. Donkey Kong 3 is for 1 or 2 players alternating and has 2 modes of difficulty, the easier A difficulty and the expert B difficulty. The game mixes some platforming with some Galaxian-style shooting. You control Stanley the Bugman, who replaces Mario, who had gone on to star in an arcade game of his own during the same year. In the game, you use a D-pad to move Stanley left and right and press up and down to hop up and down on different platforms. Pressing A or B fires one shot from your bug spray gun. The primary goal of each screen is to shoot the bug spray at Donkey Kong until he reaches the top of the screen, completing that stage. You also have a secondary goal of saving the flowers at the bottom of the screen by shooting bees who are trying to get them. If a bee grabs a flower, you can save it by shooting the bee or completing the screen before the bee leaves. Most bees take one shot, but the queen, who is often accompanied by guard bees, takes 2 shots and explodes when destroyed, sending out deadly projectiles. There are also snakes to watch out for that can get knocked out with a regular shot and potentially block your shots from hitting Donkey Kong himself. Sometimes, if you force Donkey Kong high enough, he will knock down a power spray that will give you a limited amount of more powerful shots when collected. The game has 3 different looping screens, but the 3rd screen doesn't show up until you pass the first 2 screens twice. Scoring wise, according to the manual, you get anywhere from 100 to 1,000 points for destroying the various bees, 500 points for every flower that survives a round, and 3,000 bonus points if all 5 flowers survive in a round, and bonus points for any time left on a timer once you complete a screen. You get an extra life at 50,000 points, but you lose a life if an enemy touches you or a projectile hits you, including the occasional coconut that Donkey Kong throws at you, or if the timer runs out, or if Donkey Kong makes it down to the ground, since he will make his way down the vines if you are not hitting him. Graphically speaking, the game looks pretty decent, and the limited sounds and music were nice as well. Family friendly wise, when the game was ported to the Nintendo e-reader, it received an E for everyone rating. At the time I researched on eBay, loose copies were going for $15 to $20, complete copies were going for $67 to $129, and one new graded copy sold for $627, and those prices include shipping. So what did I think of Donkey Kong 3? As a kid, I had no idea they made a 3rd Donkey Kong until well after its release, and after playing the NES version, I can kinda see why. The game just doesn't live up to the high bar set by the first 2 games. I admire Nintendo for taking a chance and mixing in some shooter elements, but I just didn't care for them in the execution. Your regular spray felt underpowered, while the powered up version, while enjoyable to use, felt almost overpowered. And personally, there were times I had a hard time noticing the bees that were flying over the platforms. At least in most space shooters, it's easy to see the enemies against an all-black background. The game does look nice, sound nice, and control decent, although you may want to use a controller with turbo buttons to save your thumb. But in the end, I just didn't have much fun with this one, and at times found myself bored. So where am I going to rank Donkey Kong 3? It's going to be pretty low, I'm afraid. I'd rather play the original Mario Brothers at 36, but I will put this over the slow-moving baseball at 37. So out of the 46 games I've now ranked on the NES, Donkey Kong 3 is spraying into the 37 position. Donkey Kong 3 fails to live up to the Donkey Kong name. I'd much rather play Donkey Kong Jr. instead. So what do you think of the game? Whether you agree or disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons and follow me on the Facebook and the Twitter. And I'm a member of the Retro Junkies Network. At this time, I'd like to thank everyone who supports the show on Patreon, including Ed Ladd Controllers, Richard the Prisoner, and Janitor Sean from the Atari 7800 Homebrew Podcast, among many others. Thank you, everyone. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, please go to patreon.com/NoSwearGamer. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look look forward to seeing next time on the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care, and if anyone has seen Stanley the Bugman, please contact Nintendo. He's been missing for quite a while.